Never had to do that before. Satnam, beautiful friends. That's a new one. So Pelosi predicts Democrats take control. Does she know something that we don't know? Likely so. Does she have a magic crystal ball? Is someone about to be caught cheating in the next elections? Likely so. Another huge dip in stock markets. Will it go lower? Perhaps Pelosi can look into our crystal ball and tell us. OPEC cuts off oil production by over 1 million barrels of crude oil. Will my last prediction, if you remember, about the gas crisis being worse than the one in the 70s come into fruition? It looks like that's very, very possible at this point in time. As predicted, North Korea is causing troubles once again. This time blowing up a missile above Japan, which I'm sure you heard about this already. What is this exactly all about? We're going to talk about that today. What is Russia's connection to tidal waves? Interesting one, right? Russia, tidal waves, coming out in a new article. Is this tidal wave the one that I predicted on the East Coast of the United States, mainly New York City? I did a video on that back in 2020. Time will only tell. Germany's arresting citizens for gathering firewood, a clear sign for all of us as to what's to come. Several new sun flares are heading towards the Earth as we speak in the next day or so, and a greater awakening is on the rise. A greater awakening is on the rise. Welcome, everybody, back to my channel. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joseph Tittel, aka Spiritman JT, and I welcome you with infinite love and gratitude. It is Tidal Tea Time, episode number 35. Can you believe we're 35 weeks into this annual weekly show? Even though I've been doing it before that, but we made a commitment to it 35 weeks ago today. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, followed by the bell in the all to ensure that you hopefully get notifications when I go live and upload new material. Also down below, you'll click that like button, because that like button will tell the algorithms that you want those notifications to show up. Really, really important. Today's topics are going to include the economy, the housing market, Russia and tidal waves, future of alcohol. What is the future of alcohol? The weather, of course, Europe, Pelosi, aliens, a ban on Christmas, and a whole lot more. Thank you so much for joining me. With our world in turmoil, Europe in crisis, potential wars, famine, even civil war and assassinations are all have a very high potential to occur before 2022 comes to a close. Therefore, a huge awakening is inevitable, especially at this point in time. Sadly, people are afraid. They're afraid of the droughts. They fear wildfires, as they should. They fear the craziness of what's happening in the UK. The lack of true leadership here in the United States of America, war in Europe, and fear of the energy sector, and just way too much fear going on right now. We need to change, as we know, and change is absolutely inevitable. As our planet is now currently going through a very rare 3,200-year cycle, and that time has arrived on Mother Earth once again. After thousands of years. It arrived a while back, but we're in it. We are definitely in it. We witness this through the constant earthquakes that are happening that proves that Mother Earth's plates are shifting. And shifting ever so quickly is what they are doing. Mass storms are developing, and horrific storms like Ian ripping apart coastlines, killing hundreds of people. But we are told that it's the climate changing. And then we're told that it's normal. But then we're told it's a rare event. So which one is it? Is it really that rare? I don't think it's very rare anymore. The Mercury retrograde direct has finally ended a few days ago, and we are now in the retrograde's post-shadow until October 16th. 9 days later, we will experience our yearly back-to-back eclipses, beginning with the eclipse on October 25th. That leads us into the second eclipse on November 8th. I'm going to tell you why that's so important. We will begin to feel and see this energy come into fruition around October 20th, maybe even perhaps a little sooner, which would bring about great events to take place. especially on that same date of the 22nd. So dates to look out for. My spirit guides warned us in the past to pay close attention to the coming sun flares. Few more are on the way, and spirit warns that the larger, more significant ones have yet to hit our planet. And when they do, this will offer up a new level of awakening, helping us to enter into a new level of consciousness. Thank you, Sandra, for your PayPal donation, and KC for your chat cash. Love you. So yeah, a new level of awakening and entering a new level of consciousness. It'll be really interesting when these sun flares begin to come, and an awakening. Sorry, got something in my eye. So a few more again, as I said, sun flares are on the way. And Spirit says when they do, this is going to offer up this new level of awakening after a large drop of truth is dropped onto humanity. A large, we've been talking about that. I've been talking about that a while. Wait for it to come. The next Edward Snowden is coming soon, probably maybe even this year around the election time. But, 2023 sun flares will be likely even more significant, and some of the largest results of the plate shifts on our planet will occur too. So this is all the more reason to be around when I do my January New Year's Day predictions. Be aware that January is going to start off very rocky. And some of 2023's most significant, most powerful events are going to occur in January of 2023. So, and if you're new and you haven't hung out with me long enough, I'm going on, I think, my 15th or 16th annual New Year's Day World Predictions event. You're going to want to not miss that, because we step into January in a pre-shadow retrograde and right into an energy shift at the beginning of the year. It's going to be intense. And I am doing a preview 2023 prediction video that I hope to have out sometime by early next week. Maybe the weekend, but I have a family coming to visit, so I won't be around this weekend. So let us start. Let us work through 2022 before we really worry about 2023. Wouldn't you agree? But I will do a preview on that in the near future. There's still great potential for us, both on a universal level and on a personal level. So, as bad as things may look and as much fear people are tapped into, we got to look at the great potential for us, both universally in the world and personally. And we have to step into our power. We got to fight for what's right, instead of shuttling up in our houses and not saying a word about anything and letting them completely continue to suppress us, our speech, and everything else. So again, I welcome you back to my channel, and to my channel, if y'all new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, the bell, and all. I am here every Tuesday at approximately 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern, which when daylight savings happens in another month, it'll be an hour earlier for you if you have daylight savings. We do not, so it'll be the same time for me. Hit that like button to show those algorithms what you want to see. And a note that I am back on Rumble. Hopefully I have a really good internet connection today. That's the whole goal. I got a whole new system put in. It was not cheap, but it's worth it, hopefully. I got 30-day trial, and otherwise I'm sending Elon his stuff back. But so far, so good, knock on wood. So therefore, I am back on Rumble. For those folks that are on Rumble, I will upload Tuesday shows after we're live on YouTube at some point within the day or so, or the same night, onto Rumble. And hopefully you'll see me live on Twitch soon enough. So if you're in those places, make sure you look for me, make sure you follow me. But even more so important is the newsletter link down below. And I forgot to put in the new newsletter link for today. I put out a new newsletter yesterday. So when the show's done, I'll change the links and put the link in there. I totally forgot. But there is a link for the newsletter down below. So be sure to click that link, open it up, and subscribe to my newsletter, because that way, no matter where I'm at, you will find out. I put out special offers, new classes that start in about just over a week. Good classes, so check that out down below. One other thing, too, is the frauds out there that are impersonating me on Instagram. I say it constantly, and people still fall for it. The scammer still gets money out of people, and I'll continue to keep telling you that I will absolutely, positively never message you privately on any social media platform. If you're not getting an email directly from my office, then it ain't coming from here. office@josephtittel.com. If you're getting private messages from people that claim to be me, especially on Instagram, because that's just ridiculous. That I can't access my business pages on there on Facebook, but these people can continue to keep scamming. You can keep reporting them, and they still keep same page keeps doing it over. They change pictures, they change people. So keep in mind that I will never message you on Instagram or any platform. I will never request or offer a reading or request money or anything of that sort. So if you get any private message from a name that's supposed to be my name, it is not me. So please be aware. Let's talk about the economy, right? That's an important topic to start off with today. Let me get some tea first. It is Tittle tea time, right? I hope you're having a beautiful day today. It's been raining here the past couple days. It's not raining today, but hence I got the satellite up on the roof. Yogi tea, yes. So the market saw another huge dip, and there is a lot more to come. Of course there is, of course. It will only get worse according to my spirit guides. A few rises, and listen to this carefully, a few rises followed by greater falls each time. I'll repeat that. A few rises followed by greater falls each time. So the October 25th eclipse will have a huge influence over the entire planet, over everything, including the economy and the stock markets. That whole before October 25th eclipse, we're going to feel it before and after the other one, November 8th. It'll be really, really interesting. But therefore, we're going to see crazy fluctuations in the markets and larger drops as we head into the eclipse energy on the 25th, and more so into November and the November eclipse. Keep in mind that November is also an 8-month universally on the planet, which is the money number, basically. So, that's why I said people think they're going to collapse the economy now. And I say 2024 because that's an 8. That would make more sense that they would use that 8 vibration to try to, push their currency that's digital in the mark of the beast. But I mean, anytime's possible. Thank you. I can't say that. Man, I need glasses, folks. Thank you, RN. We'll say RN because I can't really see. I think that must be Japan. I think you're in Japan. My friends in Japan. So again, going back to the eclipse in that time period, in November's an 8. It's an 8 vibration. So money and markets are going to definitely, and if there was a collapse, that 8 vibration would make the most sense for such event to take place. That's why I say, likely the end of next year is when there'll be their full collapse to get in their greater plan to reset everything. But 2024, like I said, would make the most sense for them instilling a new currency, especially a global one, or attempting to. And their attempt's probably going to be pretty easy because they make everything look good for you or for people to manipulate us and say, oh, yeah, let's do it. Get the chip in your hand. Let the devil have control. Bad news. So we are approaching the economy. Now we are approaching great times for entering into many stock options. If you know what you're doing, that's the key. Because what falls is bound to rise up again. So getting certain stocks that we know are going to be good, getting them when everything drops, you can end up making a lot. But you have to be in the right companies in the right place. So, the markets can be good to dabble with now, even though it's all collapsing. But that's when these millionaires and billionaires make more money. That's what they do. That's part of their plan. They're making billions off of their whole reset plan. They're already doing that. So it's really interesting. They get away with it, but you can too if you know the stocks. And that's what Spirit said today. What falls is bound to rise back up again, except you would need to be patient, Spirit says, and to invest in the right stocks, of course. As I've been telling you for years, silver is where the money's going to be and where, you should invest, physical, having that. But again, more than anything, you should be investing in food and supplies. Excuse me. That's the most important right now. So speaking of money, so silver being on the rise, but again, be patient. recent article. Comes from a recent article on the economy. The number of available jobs in the United States plummeted in August compared with July as businesses grow less desperate for workers. A trend that could chronically high inflation. That makes no sense. Cool chronically high inflation. So I think that's a pipe dream, whoever wrote that, because I know lots of business owners and they can't find help. So I don't know what they're talking about. Well, we know they manipulate everything, the numbers and everything. But remember what Spirit warned us in the past. Europe's economy and the markets will crash first before the domino effect hits globally. So experiencing chaos and economic collapse. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Pakistan. I missed the line. Pakistan and Haiti. Did you know Haiti? They're like total chaos right now. I think Pakistan is too, but Haiti's a good example because Haiti's already got that collapsing happening and the chaos and food fights and everything else. They're experiencing major economic collapse and chaos. So how long do you think it'll take before it hits your city, your state, your country? It's going to be a domino effect. It's the small third world countries that get hit first. And we've been seeing that for a long time now. It's only going to spread out, and we got to keep our eye on Europe because that's what Spirit said. Keep your eye on them because then you'll know when to pull your money and do what you should very soon. Actually, I'm not telling us. Remember the visions about 2 years ago? I saw visions of the Great Depression. Do you remember that? For y'all that have been following long enough, I had visions of those black and white pictures of people in line for food and water. And I remember also I've been pulled to Germany many times since, and those visions, and when I had those visions, which makes me believe that Germany would be hit first with some type of, lining up for food that the government's trying to act like they're being kind to provide. But I assure you that they will not be the only ones. It won't just be them. And Germany's in a hot mess right now, like most of the world. Governments are going to take control and attempt to take control in other areas of the food, starting with smaller countries before this also spreads globally. So we got to keep our eye on that, my friends. We got to keep an eye on them starting to form up. Remember the vision. It's easy for you all to get my vision of the Great Depression. When we see that occurring in small countries, we know it's about to spread, which it probably is already happening in other countries. But the government, I don't know if they started their way of monopolizing the food. This whole plan is to monopolize the food chain. Hence the reason that Gates and Bezos are buying up all the farmland and the food processing companies. If you're not aware, I did a video on that called Game of Hunger. I did a couple of them. The most recent is Game of Hunger. So make sure you go down, check my newsletter too, because I put all my videos in each newsletter. So if you don't miss any, so you want to check out that newsletter. Chicago. Did you know Chicago had 31 shootings this past weekend? 31 shootings. Deaths from shootings. Let me rephrase that. 31 deaths from shootings. It's just insane. So, I know it's not easy for people, but what you need to do is get out of the cities, go rural. I mean, that's in the prophecies. Even the Hopi talk about going to the high mountains to escape the heat and the crazy chaos. So let's talk about, speaking of housing, let's talk about the housing market. The housing market reached that huge all-time high earlier this year. I know, this doubled in price. It's insane to me. Like doubled. That's insane to me. But we reached that high, and I've been telling them it's going to reach that peak, and then it's going to start to drop by the end of the year, and it's doing exactly that, depending on where you're at. But many markets are, and I tell you, don't buy. It's not the time to buy. But I warned you in my past predictions. Wait to purchase your real estate as the market's going to drop significantly. Earlier this year, I told you all to sell property. It's a great time to sell property and wait to buy new property. And that's the problem. People want to sell, but then they can't find property, or it's too much money for them to find a property. And I said, wait, just hold on to your money because without a doubt, eventually the market's going to take a crash like it did back in 2008. likely even worse than it was in 2008. 2023 is going to be a very challenging year altogether in all, but it would likely be a time to bring this great housing market crash down to its knees. So more on this again in my annual New Year's Day predictions. So you don't want to miss that. And again, remember, I'm here every Tuesday with updates and things. So here's an article clearly showing that the markets in the housing markets are already beginning to fall in this article. And hopefully I'll be able to show you these articles now on this internet. Thank you, Jamie Smith, with love and gratitude. U.S. home prices now posting biggest monthly drop since 2009. So, that's only a year off from 2008. This article is just from October 2nd. Of course, it's one of them articles that don't let you read unless you subscribe. Of course, I didn't notice that before. Cities facing steepest correction include San Francisco. Inventory levels stayed relatively flat, data provide says. I can't believe it won't let me read this. Garbage. Guess it wasn't important. You got the point, though, right? You got the point. It's all about the point. Let's talk about, being we're talking about crises. We're going to talk about the gas crisis. Need gas? Eat beans. Of course, if you remember, sorry, I can't hold my corniness. If you remember my visions in the past, where I also saw, and this was a while ago, this is over a year ago, I had visions of the 1970s, again, kind of like the Great Depression, visions of the 1970s gas crisis. I was a little kid, I remember them lined up in the cars to get gas. And I had those visions over a year ago. Spirit reminded me of those visions today. And when Spirit reminds me of visions and predictions from the past, it means that we're closing in on that prediction coming into fruition. You have gas? Take Beano, and there'll be no gas. Oh, Lord, help me. Anyway, yeah. So this means they're closing. This prediction's likely coming into fruition in the near future, which takes me to OPEC. It's closed. I have a hole in my chin. Damn. OPEC suddenly cut off 1 million gallons of crude oil from being pumped out while they sit there and smile and laugh in our faces and drive their golden car and sit on their golden throne. This brings me to Saudi Arabia. I see big issues coming to their country, which include some military activity. I said this before with an explosion there, and that did occur. Saudi Arabia is in some of my past predictions. I just don't remember everything that I say. Hopefully you do. You could type it down below. And that's the best place to leave me information is down below. Comments, not in my email, not on any other social media platform, because I'm not going to see them or look at them. When you leave them on YouTube, I pay attention to them. And if you've got links to past predictions that you can put in the comments, people love that, as do I as well. So anyway, I see Saudi Arabia having major problems. And remember, sabotaging pipelines does not end with Russia. And soon the Saudis will get a feel of what it's like to have their funds cut off instantly. I got more about that cut off, sabotage, lines and all. But you remember, again, I made a lot of predictions around oil spills, the ocean bubbling up, all kinds of stuff, including sabotage cutting off oil, which happened. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But again, going back to sabotaging pipelines does not end with Russia. And soon the Saudis are going to get a feel of what it's like to have their funds cut off completely. Which takes me to the next subject of alcohol. Would you like a cocktail? I warned you a long time ago. It's been a while, a year, maybe 2 years, back to 2020 perhaps. I don't remember. But the Dark Army wants to make attempts to bring back prohibition in a different form, but in a new age format, of course, prohibition in a new age format. I also warned you of alcohol shortages. And if you recall, there was an Illuminati card that I showed you that showed banning on alcohol. Excuse me. And I have to give myself a set of those Illuminati cards. I have some of them, but I don't have the set. When I acquire the set, I'll do videos on it because there's a lot of information. I mean, look, there's pictures of the Twin Towers being hit and burning. These cards were put out to what year? I forget what year, but way before that ever happened. 1993 or something like that. It was put out in 94. Interesting, right? How would they know that? If they're not looking into the future, maybe they have a crystal ball or a pair of them like Pelosi has. Look into the future. Anyway, I warned you about alcohol shortages. I showed you that there was a card, Illuminati card, that indicates they have a plan clearly in their playbook. Well, in Europe, alcohol manufacturers are already suffering while many are being forced to close their doors due to the alleged energy crisis. They can't afford it. They can't, and so I tell you, stock up, y'all. Stock up, y'all. If you're an alcohol kind of person. Personally, I could care less. I have a cocktail with friends once in a while, but other than that, I could care less. I could do without. It's not a big deal. I do without for a long time, actually. But some people can't. Some people need their drink, and I get it. Especially if you have little kids, I'd need a drink too if I have little kids. I think everybody needs a drink if they have little kids. Anyway, alcohol shortages, big time, are going to happen. And remember, we just had in Italy all their most famous vineyards all burned down. We saw that attack on food happening, also occurring with alcohol, processing plants, and so forth. So, it's a new age kind of ban. If you think about it, like the Spirit said, it's a prohibition in a new age format. That would make sense. A new format would be, they don't have to prohibit it. They'll just make it impossible for you to get it. And then when people go to make it, then they'll make laws, and then it'll be like prohibition. So I feel like we're going to be seeing that really, really soon, probably at some point in 2023. It's a stormy year, 2023. And speaking of stormy, let's talk a little bit about weather. Whether or not you want me to, I'm going to talk about the weather. Hurricane Ian did exactly what we were all afraid would occur, along with what I actually predicted would occur. It sadly wiped out parts of Florida with a death toll of over 100 people. They say it's a once-in-a-lifetime storm, while saying at the same time, it's the ever-changing climate, right? So which one is it exactly? Spirit showed me that Ian was very much like Hurricane Sandy in the way of storms being pushed into a specific direction that somebody wants to push it into. We are all very, very aware that our governments have patents on weather modification. So when people say, oh, they'll do that, that's conspiracy. There's patents on it. Like, hello? Don't be less than smart. Do your research. There are patents. They've been doing it since the 50s. They got to be way advanced in that by now. Like think about it. They started that in the 50s, and look at where we're at now. Our government progresses 25 years for every year that we progress technologically. So now, why would some sicko want to use weather modification, and why would the current administration want to force a storm into Florida? I don't think that that's a question that needs to be answered, right? Well, we got to look at how much people love Florida while others love to hate Florida, especially DeSantis. So many people love DeSantis, but more people are loving to hate him, or hate to love him right now, or whatever you want to say. So already they're targeting him for blame. Of course, they didn't act quickly and blah, blah, blah BS. And you would have to ask somebody in Florida that. I mean, I haven't asked anybody, so maybe he didn't, but I doubt that it's true. I very likely doubt that it's true. He didn't tell them to evacuate sooner, is basically what they said. Everybody saw it coming. You shouldn't have to tell people to evacuate. Look at your radar. It's coming. Listen to Spirit, man. I told you to get the heck out of there. Get off that coastline. But think about this for a minute, my friends. If you recall, Hurricane Sandy prevented millions of people from voting during the Obama elections. Remember? The election that he won? With millions of people in Jersey who were all Republican, couldn't vote. In New York and parts of Pennsylvania, because I remember I was in that storm. I know. I have lots of friends that lost lots, and some lost everything. So remember, Spirit told me a few months back that Florida was like Texas and will become a targeted state. Remember that? And I forgot about that. Spirit reminded me of that today when I was doing all this work on this. Spirit's like, don't you remember? We told you that that's a targeted state. What does that mean exactly? Well, if you look at what happened to Texas with the freeze out and those poor people, that's what Spirit means by this. A targeted state. And I said that not that long ago, probably the past month or 2 months, that they're a targeted state. And look, it looks like they got a target of a hurricane on their back, without a doubt. Now look at what this hurricane has brought to the good people of Florida. It brought total disaster. Now we know exactly what my spirit guides were talking about when they said targeted. I mean, it makes sense to me, right? Hopefully you as well. Florida is not out of the water yet, according to Spirit, and they won't be anytime soon. This will cause more voters to relocate out of state, while a few may blame DeSantis. Of course. Spirit shows me a vision of many great Arctic blasts coming soon. Remember, we're talking weather here, y'all. And I said this sometime last month, beginning of the month, about an early Arctic blast coming in. And there's one coming in. But not just to Florida, but globally, especially Europe. In my previous predictions, I spoke of cold weather killing off the fruit in many fruit trees, like oranges. So once again, I warn all of our friends and family that are in Florida, not just Florida, Georgia, Texas, and the Carolinas, a great cold will blow in suddenly to your states. Take cover for your trees and your plants. Try covering the fruit trees if you can, especially in the spring. Now, let me finish and you'll understand. I saw visions of things freezing over after great rains come. So that'll be a sign for you all, especially Florida, even Georgia and all. Great rains come, and that's when it's going to freeze. Things are going to freeze over. And I think that's the sooner one. But I saw more than one event occurring with these cold spells. Icicles hanging. I saw visions of icicles hanging off of oranges. And I feel like this may come sooner, but also it could spoil the spring flowers like they did this year in many areas. I know my apricot trees, we had that, remember that late frost that came in, especially up in Canada, wiped out all their fruit trees. My apricots didn't get no fruit on them. Luckily, my apples and plums did, but that didn't. Neither did my peaches. And that was the whole neighborhood, really. I guess apples and plums are a little bit stronger of a flower, or maybe they were progressed enough that they didn't die. But that's, again, what Spirit was showing me today. That's going to likely occur again next year in the spring. So knowing this, and this is why we like to do predictions and know about things, because remember, being aware can help you to prepare. I mean, what good is it if you don't know, and then you get caught off guard? It's always good to be caught on guard and know that you need to prepare. So those who have the ability and have trees, you might want to maybe cover them up if that's possible. I don't know. Maybe put a big heater on it. I don't know, but something. Because soon farmers in fruit orchards will find new ways. This is an innovation that Spirit showed me today. Good positive one here. Farmers in fruit orchards will find new ways to protect their trees and plants. New innovations in warming the soil, actually the actual soil, melting away the cold and protecting the harvest from are all coming soon, is what Spirit showed me. Great new innovations. Melting away the cold, protecting the harvest. Something positive for y'all to turn this cold issue around, make a little bit of warmth, bring in a little warmth with that cold. Look for these to happen between now and through 2025. Now, Canada is about to be hit with cold, which I'm sure they're used to, and snow along with the Rockies. Speaking of cold, I warned of that early cold in Arctic air a few weeks ago. Check out this article. Not that you can check it out, but I'm going to check it out for you. Blast of winter-like cold on the way for the Midwest and Northeast. This was published today. AccuWeather forecasters expect the coldest air of the season to arrive this week in the Midwest and Northeast. And a little snow could even come with it, or a lot of snow, I say. The taste of winter-like cold will be occurring following a brief and perhaps welcome warm up across parts of the east. So a warm up too, crazy weather. Temperatures in recent days have been on the chilly side. Yes, it has here in Arizona, especially in the Northeast. I'm in the Southwest. But anyway, that's the article, and it talks about New York City and the coastal areas of New England, Maryland, all these places, even Chicago, getting this blast of cold. I don't know if it says when. I think this week, by Wednesday. The thermometer may have read a few degrees higher in the Midwest, with highs expected to reach in the low 80s in a few cities, such as St. Louis, Indiana. High temperatures will shift from the 50s at the start of the week in Philadelphia to near 60 degrees on Wednesday and then 70 on Thursday. So what happened to their Arctic blast? I guess that comes later. But it's coming, folks. This is an article telling you, warning you. So if you got plants, get ready, pay attention to the weather, cover them up. I like to build a thing around my peppers so that I get peppers throughout as long as possible. So just keep an eye on your stuff, my friends. An earthquake in Chile. Why is this happening? I thought I muted this. I thought I had not muted. Wrong button. Go away, Siri. She's so annoying. That damn Siri chick. Do not disturb. All right, there we go. Earthquake in Chile. And again in Mexico. That just popped in my mind. It wasn't even working. I was doing something. I think I took the dog out. It just popped in my mind. Big earthquake in Chile. And then again in Mexico. But this felt like huge. California residents. California, here I come. Not really. The earth beneath you in California has moved, and it will continue to shift. In time, part of the Earth's plate will plummet into the Pacific. So when this occurs, it will begin with quakes that get larger and larger until the snap occurs within a 14-day period. So for now, California is about as safe as it's going to be right now, and safer than it'll ever be. Not to say that it's going to be safe at all for long or that it's safe at all. But right now, I felt like this is okay. I do not see this larger event occurring for perhaps a few years. Perhaps the year 2025 would make most sense. But I do see earthquake devastation hitting parts of California, and some will occur in the near future. So be aware and be alert now, and also in the month of January. So going back to that again, Spirit said that, like, I saw it, like part of the plate snapping off, like snapping and then going into the ocean. Not like the whole state, but part of it. And I don't know earthquakes or fault lines, but I'm sure an earthquake expert can tell us exactly where it might actually occur. But Spirit said it was going to start with an earthquake, and they were each one in a 14-day period will get bigger and bigger and bigger, each one. And that's when we know that it's time to evacuate California. They're already evacuating. They're invading our state here. A double volcanic eruption in the upper part of the globe in Alaska will unleash a series of great shakings as the entire northern part of the globe, stretching from Greenland to Japan, will experience large quakes of 7.0 and higher. This will likely bring upon several small tsunamis. Spirit did say small. Expect there to be a great storm activity and several significant earthquakes coming up this weekend, especially for Saturday's full moon. So those 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and October 7th through October 11th, big activity. So remember that. The 7th through the 11th is what Spirit showed me. And going back again, double volcanic eruption in the upper part of Alaska unleashes this series of great shakings. I don't know when this is, but I'm thinking not this year, probably likely next year, but who knows? We still got these eclipses that could be coming up soon. That's the thing, the hardest thing. When people tell you a time, predictions, and when it's going to happen, anybody that does that and knows what they're doing, you can't always put a time on things. especially big events like that. You could put maybe a little bit of a window on there, like we said, October 7th through the 11th for activity. Let's move on. Especially when we're talking about not knowing, not being sure. Nobody's sure what's going through North Korea's mind right now. Earlier this year, in my annual New Year's Day predictions, I told you all, or Spirit told us is more like it, that North Korea would rise up once again to cause trouble, worry, and fear. And apparently, that's exactly what's happening. You know, I didn't know this until I read the articles that they shot off like over 40 missiles this year. And nobody heard about that. You know, it's all of a sudden the media. North Korea, Japan. I'm sure you all know about this by now, but just in case, North Korea launched an intermediate range ballistic missile on Tuesday that flew over Japan. For the first time in 5 years, the South Korean government triggered alerts across Japan. Tuesday's North Korea launch. I remember fake siren. Oh, no, that was tsunami sirens. Never mind. Thinking out loud. But the launch of the ballistic missile took place from North Korea's northern Gyeongsang province, according to South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff. The South Korea Joint Chiefs of Staff said the missile flew approximately 2,700 miles to the east, reaching the altitude of 603 miles and a top speed of Mach 17 before landing in the Pacific Ocean. A body traveling at Mach 1 is traveling at the speed of sound. Mach 2 is twice the speed of sound. Interesting. I never knew that. I didn't know that. See, I just learned something new. I hope I got you to learn something new. So anyway, I did say that North Korea and he was going to be a problem. And I still believe that his sister's doing the running of that country. I believe that something's not right with him. I wouldn't doubt that he might not even be alive. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me either. And they hid that from us. You know, they had a big funeral, never told anybody. Just nothing surprises me. But no, he's likely still alive, hiding, but they're trouble. You got to think about it. Put yourself in their shoes. See, this is what's interesting to me. That, you know, United States and say Taiwan do their military drills. And they're allowed to do that. But when Russia does military drills, it's a big drama and it's a big thing, right? Why can the United States do things and other countries can have, you know, military drills? But God forbid, you know, somebody else has it, like Kim Jong-un. And that's what I believe is happening, because we have all these big drills going on right now. One in South Korea with the United States. The whole drills are happening, military drills. And they're, you know, likely blowing things up near North Korea. Who knows? They wouldn't tell us if they were. So, you know, this is him saying, you know, flexing his muscles, basically. He's just flexing his muscles. That's all he's doing. And you can't blame him. You know, you can't blame him. Like, if you were a country and you had United States flexing its muscles on your borders, like, wouldn't you, like, put out a missile and say, look, I got stuff too. You know, we can defend ourselves. So this is only going to get worse. This is all to bring on the fear. So don't pay attention to it. Right now, I feel like harmless. Nothing's going to happen there. If anything were to happen in North Korea, it'd be somebody like China invading and taking it over. Because China basically almost pretty much owns North Korea about now. I talked about that way back, maybe a year or so ago. Is coming into fruition. Spirit said it's just North Korea trying to flex their muscles, mainly because they are scared and hope to relieve some of the fear, which only actually makes Korean people have more fear, sadly. Speaking of fearful places, let's talk about Russia and pipeline sabotage. General Petraeus, if I said his name right, did you hear it recently? He just said that Russia needs a regime change. Is he threatening to take out Putin like they did with leaders like Saddam Hussein? Sounds like that to me. Remember I said the assassination attempts on him. I don't know what these people were thinking. They are just not smart. They are not very smart. What do they think? They're going to take him out like they did Saddam and then just ruin that whole country like they did the Middle East? Like, come on. get themselves into a nuclear war, and none of us want that. But Biden, that dude's so sick, I don't think he has any problem launching nukes. Like, what's wrong with that? They said if I don't know, I think it was Petraeus again that said that, I know it was Biden, I think he said it, that if Russia did something, we would sink their ships. Yeah, that's real smart. Going into a war that's not ours. That's when Americans need to step up and be like, rip that man out of office, or rip the general out of office, or whatever. Because it's just like, we need to mind our own business, not get involved. Let them do what they need to do and stay out of it. That's just my opinion. We get into things we don't need to be into. So who do you think is responsible for the sabotage of the pipelines? I can tell you one thing. Spirit said it's not Russia, according to my spirit guides. And my guides have never let me down, knock on wood. So who was the first one to offer assistance to Europe when that? Likely, that's where your culprit is. So you can figure that one out on your own, but this is just the beginning of a crazy sabotaging of other countries' assets and belongings. So it's not just going to be pipelines. I told you, power grids, all kinds of stuff. This is just the beginning, Spirit said. Remember my past visions of pipelines being sabotaged? Or like being messed with or blown up? Well, now we know why. It's just when I said that in my predictions way back, that I saw a pipeline being blown up and taken out, I thought it would be one on land. I never thought it'd be underwater. Spirit didn't say it was underwater, but now it kind of comes into fruition. But again, this is only the beginning. Remember what I had in my visions too, that Putin would make a shocking, bold move? Well, together, my friends, let us pray that vision, that past vision of the mushroom cloud that I also had, is not related to this mess. Let's just hope it's not related to this mess. Maybe it's a test. I don't know. But I had those visions and it just doesn't feel very good to me. Spirit saying Putin's going to make bold moves. Having visions that go back of the mushroom cloud. Kind of a little bit creepy. But here's the thing. Although it's not easy to assume at this point, we can't assume anything or whether they're related. But keep in mind that none of this that's happening now in Europe with Russia was happening when I made those predictions. None of that was. I said it before that whole thing broke out. I said it late last year or sometime last year, some of the things I said. And now we can actually kind of easily assume, even though we shouldn't assume, but it would make sense that that's where those predictions would fall into place, potentially. Not that they are, but potentially. It just kind of makes so much sense when things grow. That's why I like to come here every week and hang out with y'all. So, should I say, somebody wants me to say, oh, I lost my spot. I really didn't. But I thought that somebody wanted me to say that. Although it's so easy to assume, again, that this is all connected. And the vision of a large missile bomb attack, again, is a potential. I would also like to remind you all of what I also said in those past predictions. If you remember, I said I believe, if I remember correctly, that I only seen one mushroom cloud. And even though one's too many and that's just too much, but I only saw one. So, I mean, so again, if something like that happened or he used a nuke, remember, one is too many, but it's better than more than one. That's the only thing I can get out of that. It's the only positive I could try to focus on is if it does occur, at least it's just one and doesn't get any further. But let's just hope and pray and hold the whole entire planet in light and hope the aliens come in and take out those bombs if they try to use them. Spirit showed me a vision of empty streets with a few people running for cover as I heard air raid sirens like the ones in Japan yesterday. Like what just occurred in Japan from North Korea's threat, except this particular one will not be a false alarm. So that was a false alarm for Japan, thankfully. But what I was seeing in the vision I had today and hearing those sirens was not a false alarm. And I believe I was actually in Russia when this was occurring in my visions today. And it felt like some type of sneak attack. Perhaps this is what brings about my prediction that Putin will make a bold move. Maybe that's connected again. The only bold move that I could even imagine him doing would be to use one of those awful bombs. I mean, hopefully, like, it's neither. Maybe his bold move something positive, but hopefully that bold move prediction doesn't come true at all. That's better yet, right? Spirit shows me that a biological attack, which I said in the past, will come as a flag that flies ever so falsely. Y'all know what I mean by that. The flags that fly ever so falsely. If it does occur, I feel that's responsible, and it's not going to be who they tell you. Leader of the Ukraine, what's his name? Zelensky. Spirit showed me that somehow or another he's going to be taken out. I don't know exactly what that means. We can easily assume. But they will hide this. And I would think it would be death, unfortunately, because the Spirit said that they would hide this loss as long as they can. Now, maybe, again, the loss could be him going out of power or resigning. I don't know. I didn't really, get clarity, other than I did see that Putin was locating him and tracking him. And I saw some type of attack where he hides, or where he's going to be hiding out. Hopefully he's in a bomb-proof shelter, but that's what I felt today. There's a potential that he may escape with some injury, but it feels to me that the hit will likely be successful, and that's what it is. It's a hit. He's going directly at him. So we can hold that in the light too, so that perhaps it won't occur. But Spirit also told me that Russia will launch a new and a very large attack. I don't know who, but if it's new, I would have to say it's got to be somewhere different. But, on a better note, let's talk about aliens or Elon Musk. Same thing, right? As you likely have heard, Musk caused another controversy over one of his tweets. I got some predictions revolved around him, but yes, he caused another controversy. Also putting his nose, like United States does, in an area that's none of his business. Elon Musk sets off an uproar in Ukraine by tweeting his peace plan. I don't know what his peace plan is, and again, this is one of them damn articles that won't let me read it unless I pay, and I'm not paying. I get the first line. Tesla chief executive officer Elon Musk drew the wrath of the Ukrainians from the president on down to Twitter post urging Ukraine to seek a negotiated. I only brought that up in case you didn't know, but really totally believe that Elon Musk is a part of the web of darkness. And I know not everybody agrees. Some people believe he's one of those, wears one of those white colored things on his head, a hat. Nope. But now it seems obvious to me that he is a part of the web of darkness, because he's literally creating a web of darkness over our planet, if you think about it, with his abundance of toxic satellites. Spirit called them toxic, not me. On the other note, I feel that Musk is going to face a load of issues in the near future and in 2023. This will include some type of large lawsuit on both his company and on himself. It felt to me that he becomes someone's target, of course. So maybe he switches for the good, but he becomes somebody's target. And he's target practice for somebody. And target practice is already begun. Right now, he's target practice. He's going to face some minor health issues late this year into 2023. And he will also face false sex allegations. False. Remember, Spirit did say false. So attacks. Speaking of attacks, let's talk about Russia and tidal waves, right? Page of mine on 11. Okay, almost through. Russia and tidal waves. Remember back in 2020, I did that video on tidal wave hitting New York City. I'll have to remember where we at in this video. 54 minutes. So I'll have to remember to put that link up there so people can see it for the tidal wave video if I can find it. Well, I mean, it's got to be there somewhere. I did it in 2020 when we were all locked down on house prison planet. Anyway, go back and watch that. But speaking of Russia, remember again my past video back in 2022 and the potential for a tidal wave to be hitting New York City, perhaps being the final blow to Wall Street and the United States economy. Think about it. It's a good way to bring down the whole country and then blame Russia for it. I showed you proof in that video from movies, the Illuminati cards, and even the back of certain American currencies that show clearly that it could be in their plan book. And to me, it is definitely in the Dark Army's playbook. And we know that they caused the one that happened on March 11th, 2011, the quake and tsunami then. And well, now I take you back to this prediction again, only because they now have someone to blame. If you think about it, I'm going to tell you about the article in a minute. Now they'll have somebody to blame about this tidal wave that I predicted back years ago, and the Illuminati cards and all predicted, and the movies predicted. I would not at all be surprised to see a new movie come out soon. I bet you, like that Meteor movie that came out last year, year before. It was a good movie, but that's part of their they know what's going to happen in 2029, which eventually I will get a video out on that. It wasn't at the top of my list of videos, but the Hopi prophecy in the year 2029. It's going to be an interesting year, to say the least. But anyway, going back to not being surprised to see a movie come out soon showing a disaster for New York City and perhaps a tidal wave event occurring at a city, not necessarily New York City. So keep your eye out in the movies, because I would not doubt something's coming out. But here's how I come to the conclusion that the Dark Army has opened up this page in their playbook, the page of, again, considering, because remember when I brought up that video, there was a potential. It was on their table, but they pulled it off at the end. And now Spirit says that the book's back open, the playbook. Russian nuclear submarine armed with a doomsday weapon disappears from the Arctic harbor. How is this significant? Well, a top-of-the-line Russian nuclear-powered submarine has gone missing from its harbor in the Arctic, along with the rumored doomsday weapon, according to multiple reports. NATO, of course, has reportedly warned members of the Russians' Belgorod submarine no longer appeared to be opening out of its White Sea base, where it has been active since July. Officials warn that Russia may plan to test the Belgorod's Poseidon weapon system. A drone that's equipped with a nuclear bomb that Russia has claimed is capable of radioactive tsunami, according to the Italian media. A drone that can be deployed from a submarine at any time and detonated at a depth of 1 kilometer near a coastal city like New York City. Russia's state media has claimed that the device can create a 1,600-foot wave that smashes into the coast and eradicates it. Yeah, right? Kind of creepy, right? Think about it. They're putting this article out there now. They're pushing this out there. Again, they got Russia to blame. Why not? Russia. They did it. It's their fault. They took out the stock market exchange. They did it. It's their fault. They're already putting it out. This comes from the great news people at Fox. Putting it out there. They're putting it out there already. I'm sure there's other articles that'll be popping up around that, but I thought I'd bring that to your attention. Let's talk about Europe for a moment. Europe's food crisis. They're having a major crisis in Europe. People are spending their savings. They're racking up their credit card debt and more credit card debt. With more credit card debt. Theft is rising, and now citizens are getting arrested for stealing firewood from the forest. But like here in the United States, and here in Arizona at least, you can't just go into the forest and load free firewood from the national forest. You can't do that here. People are like, yo, you can do it in other countries. No, you can't do it here. Why? So, I think it's probably the same anywhere. You have to have a permit. You have to have permission. So the same thing goes for Germany. But now they're making a story out of it. Again, fear. They're making a story out of it. We're arresting people for stealing wood. Most of those people go out there and get wood all the time. They do it here. And maybe a few slip by without permits, and now they're going to make it, we're arresting them. People are desperate. They're stealing wood. Which, again, there's probably more than there was last year, but I found it to be very interesting. But this shows how desperate people already are And sadly, the coming severe winter that's going to hit Europe is going to cause more issues than they can actually handle. Power outages are going to cause freezing cold homes, which in turn are going to freeze elderly and several children. And that this will be topped off with the hunger that brings about theft and higher crime. I do not believe that this will lead. I do believe that this is going to actually lead to them calling martial law. Excuse me. In several countries, such as Germany, the UK, Russia, and maybe eventually United States, because that's in the Illuminati cards too. So love to our friends out in Germany and the rest of the world. Be safe, stock up, keep warm. Try not to use an electric space heater. Try to find some other kind of form. I actually want to go out and get me one of those propane ones for inside, even though I have propane heat anyway. But if the power goes out, your heater don't run, even if it's propane. So that's what I'm looking into. I have a fireplace, but I believe we're going to have a very, very cold winter. So I'm going to get me propane and a bunch of tanks stored. And speaking of tanks, let's talk about Nancy Pelosi. How about Nancy Pelosi making her own psychic predictions? Have you heard about that? Does she now have crystal balls? She's got them, but that's for sure. Definitely, Nancy Pelosi definitely has a set of crystal balls, and she's making predictions with them. More like she knows, because she's a part of the Dark Army and reads their evil playbook. And that's how she knows that these things are going to happen. She's part of that playbook. Just like JB. She needs to go, and Spirit assured us that her reign will end soon. I can't remember what her prediction was, but she's made these predictions that, that's what she said. She said the Democrats were going to take over the country in election time. Of course they are. FIXED, just like all of them. Just saying. Just saying. Let's talk about Israel, because I just vomited in my mouth when I said Pelosi. I just did it again. Israel. I had a vision of Israel and Israel military and Air Force suddenly being on the move. Now, we said it last week. People, all y'all were telling us how active the military in the United States is and how they're all moving. Well, I saw activity happening in Israel, and I saw all these planes taking off in flight with troops rushing to form this big wall, like a protection. That was the vision. I did not see anything other than that. My vision was cut off. That's all I saw. It was a quick vision. And, again, I don't know if this is in the near future or something that could occur later, but we'll have to see. Let's talk about Christmas. Christmas. Doom, doom. It's Christmas time, pretty baby. Be here before you know it. Remember I told you, or should I say Spirit told us, a while back, long ago, that they were working hard to take Christ out of Christmas and out of the equation completely. Remember I said that years ago? It seems like every year they're pushing something in that vicinity. They want you worshiping them as gods, these sickos. They are gods. They believe it. Just like the pharaohs in ancient Egypt, the same family bloodline of the Anunnaki. They're all connected if you do your research and connect the family bloodlines. The pharaohs believed they were gods. Just like the Pope is supposed to be a representative of God. Now, this is what these sickos want. Nancy Pelosi thinks she's a goddess. Anyway, they want you to worship them as the gods, and of course their little devil Lucifer, not Jesus Christ. And that's not good. I told you that they would attempt to make bans on Christmas in some way or another and spoil holiday celebrations. It is easy to predict now that many folks will not be able to have their usual Christmas dinner this year. Well, how about this? A ban on Christmas lights is now being proposed in Europe. That's right. A ban on Christmas lights is now being proposed in Europe. Well, what if you have battery-operated ones? They're going to ban them too? Of course they are, because it's not really a ban on Christmas lights. It's a ban on Christianity. It's a ban on Jesus Christ. It's a ban on the Lord and Savior. So they are going to blame energy, of course, for their ban on Christmas. And if they try this in the United States, and they will eventually, you watch how quickly people rise up in a civil war to protect Jesus, Christmas, and Christianity, the way we should be protecting things. Speaking of protecting, let's talk about aliens and UFOs, one of my favorite subjects. I just got this new nighttime zoom camera to look out at the UFOs. I haven't really had much time to play with it, but apparently you can see UFOs more clearly with night vision. And I did see some stuff, but I wasn't sure what it was. Anyway, are you familiar with Billy Meyer? Have you all ever heard of Billy Meyer? He predicted 35 years ago and said that there was water on Mars. Him and burned him at the stake many times, Billy Meyer, for the amazing stuff that he was able to provide and all of his predictions coming true. Predictions that go back 35 years ago saying there is water on Mars. They just now announced, NASA, that they have claims that there's water on Mars. But Billy Meyer never got credit for that. Billy Meyer will never get credit for that. Billy Meyer's up there in age. He's got to be, I would imagine, pushing 80 by now. Amazing stuff. If you are not familiar with Billy Meyer's material, you definitely should check it out. I haven't in a long time, but he's got some best pictures ever of close-up UFOs. He's been called a fake, a hoaxer, and none of his stuff can be hoaxed. It's pretty amazing, actually. And it's just like people are just so in denial. How can you look up and think that we're the only ones? That's just being very controlling. That's what religion, that's religion-wise, that would just totally destroy Christianity. You know, because we're the only ones. There's nobody else. You know, us and God. And we know that's not true. Did you know that the Vatican has, maybe not now, but it was the most powerful telescope on the planet? I'm pretty sure it's in Meyer, spelled M-E-I-E-R. He's got a very weird spelling to his name, Billy Meyer. It's M-E-I-E-R. Yeah, I did that right. I had to spell it out in my head. But anyway, I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, aliens and alien invasions. Did you happen to see the new logo for the Director of National Intelligence? I'm sure you might have saw that around. Well, if you missed it, they already pulled it from their websites. They don't want you to know about it because it brought up too much controversy. Because it clearly shows the flying saucer in the logo. A whole new patch logo for the arm, and it shows the 3 planes and a flying saucer. Look it up. I'm sure you can still find pictures that people took screenshots of it and all. What are they trying to tell us? They won't say it, but they'll show it to us. That's what they do. They won't say it, but they'll throw it in our faces. They won't tell you that they're doing things or going to do things. They throw it in our faces through movies, through media, through all kinds of things. But they won't say it. It's interesting. The aliens won't speak and shed the light on the truth. Anyway, part of their playbook plans to do a potential alien invasion. It is in their playbook. When I first heard it, I'm like, that's conspiracy. No, do your research. You'll find that a lot of the conspiracy isn't so conspiracy. That is in their playbook, and they were going to pull that play a few years back, but then they pulled the 2020 bug play instead. So, of course, there's movies, Hollywood movies, and basically what it's going to be, if they were to pull this play out of their playbook, the alien invasion, that would forces. Spirit says they will do. That's why I brought it up today, because I've talked about that before, but this gives us info. Spirit gave us info. And that info is that Spirit says they will do a global test on their equipment, their little Hollywood production equipment for the sky. And therefore, we must keep an eye out for several days in a row of very unusual sky events and a slew of UFO sighting reports, all within a 3-day cycle, just within a few days. I don't know when this is occurring, but that's what Spirit says. Keep your eye out for. It'll be too in our face not to notice it. It would be too in our face not to notice it. So remember that. Okay, so hey, don't forget to hit that like button because I love you. Moving on. Did I miss anything? Yeah, it is part of their playbook and a production put on by our military forces in Hollywood. The test on their equipment. So speaking of tests equipment, let's talk about DT, Mr. Trump. He's suing CNN And Spirit says he's not going to get anywhere with it. Perhaps he should buy CNN instead. That's what Spirit said. I thought it was really funny. Spirit made me laugh. Well, Spirit totally said like he's not going to win, but maybe he should buy it instead. I thought that was really funny. I'm like, Spirit's got a good sense of humor, I must say. Which actually I believe he will soon invest in his own news bid. Well, Spirit's saying don't be surprised now because he's considering it. It's not in stone yet, but it's one of those potential future things that he's going to buy his own network. I think that's just kind of funny because I think they're all just awful. Buying into that, just I don't know. But anyway, a couple last little predictions for you. I saw that his plane takes an emergency landing. I don't know what that's all about, but Trump's plane takes some type of emergency landing. That's all I got out of that. And speaking of airlines, speaking of planes, I saw a large airliner in flames in the sky. And I believe it was purposely hit. I would imagine this is probably over Europe somewhere. I don't know. That's all I got. And I have deja vu when I read that prediction, which means I probably might have said something back a while about it. Because as you know, some of my predictions can take 2 years to come into fruition. Excuse me. I try to keep up to date with them, but y'all be better at that with comments down below. Remember I said that airlines would run into major problems and perhaps end up like at a point where they need a huge bailout like they did way back in the day? Well, did you hear about this one? United Airlines. I say go United just because of this. Because United Airlines officially ended all their service at JFK Airport. And they're making good on their ultimatum and will officially suspend all service from New York City's John F. Kennedy International Airport. Earlier in September, United threatened to end service at the airport if the FAA didn't grant the carrier more slots for expansion. That's because they don't have the money to get the slots for expansion. This wasn't the first time United had made a request, according to Bloomberg. At the time, the FAA took a careful approach, citing airspace capacity assessments and fair competition between airlines. United will cut its 4 daily flights from JFK beginning on October 29th. Well, go United. But I brought that up because, again, going back to my predictions about them needing a bailout and airlines going bankrupt. Well, yeah, United pulling out of JFK, they're heading into bankruptcy if they do that. That would make more sense. And I thought that was a good one to touch base on today. I had a vision of Biden collapsing. And it looked like he was either coming off a stage or going on a stage and he collapsed. And then the cameras cut out. So maybe it's before a TV event. I don't know. But anyway, chaos around the elections is coming up. So remember that. I'm not talking United States. Look at what's happening in Brazil. Wait till the end of the month. Wait until the end of the month, my friends. Because Spirit said to me, pretty simple today. Election, chaos. That's all I got. Big capital letters. And I'm not thinking just the United States. I'm thinking like all together. Because I said that in the past about all the leaders and all that chaos happening globally, not just in one place, people leaving power and so forth. Credit card companies are going to begin to police activities of their users. So be aware of that. That's why I don't do credit cards. I mean, I have a card linked to my bank account, but I don't do credit cards. They track enough of our crap. Spirit said that a scare for Halloween, a big scare on Halloween. I don't know. Again, I'm sure I'll get more information between now and then. My dog needs to go out, so we're going to end in a second. God, I get away. Anyway, yeah, scare fire. Come on, you're knocking my camera over. Get away. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and also something to do with fentanyl and Halloween, which, please watch your kids, friends. Those cartels and all those sick Lucifer worshiping devil worshippers, they would do stuff like that. They're sick. So just be aware of Halloween. Be safe with Halloween. Pay attention to the dates, October 29th, October 30th, and October 31st, and November 2nd. Chaos is all I got. So basically the 29th of October through the 2nd of November, which is also the celebration of the Day of the Dead and All Hallows Eve, celebrating our ancestors. One of the most important times of the year for me, because it's important to honor our ancestors and loved ones in spirit. So pay attention to those dates, and 10/10, which is only 6 days away. 10/10. With that 10/10, I say over and out. That's what I have for you on this 35th episode of Tidal Tuesday Tea Time Predictions Update. I thank you for all y'all that put chat cash through. In case I missed any of it, I apologize. I thank all of you who are members of this community down below. Eventually, I will be doing group things just for the members of the community, like I do to the members on Subscribe Stars Awaken Your Spirit community. Monthly supporters. So I will be doing things for that. I'm waiting for the group to build up a little bit more to make it worth everybody's while. So thank you for joining the community down below, or just being a part of the tribe and hitting subscribe. It means the world to me, as does your love and support, because I couldn't do this and spend all the time doing this if it weren't for you. So until the next time, remember to celebrate life, celebrate you, celebrate everything around you. I just drew a blank again. Oh, it's been a long day. But be kind to others as you wish others to be kind to you, because we all know mean people suck. Really, they do. Really awful. Anyway, until the next time, I will see you very, very soon. I know I will see you in the future because I saw it in my crystal ball. Spiritman JT signing out. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste and much love to you all.